In today's video, we're diving into a topic that's essential for anyone considering a car lift for their garage or workshop. That's right, we're talking about the 5 things you should know before buying a car lift. Whether you've been dreaming of elevating your car maintenance game or expanding your workspace, or you're just simply tired of crawling around on the cold garage floor, a car lift could be the game changer you need. But before you hit that buy now button, there are some key factors to consider to ensure you're making the right choice. So if you're ready to lift your knowledge to new heights and avoid any pitfalls, make sure to stick around till the end of this video. Firstly, make sure to consider height. Don't just consider the height of the lift itself. You'd be in for a real bummer if you did so. For example, let's say on the website of the car lift's description it details the lift itself measures only 11 feet 8 inches. You go out to the garage, throw the tape up to the ceiling, and it also reads 11 feet 8 inches. You're all good, right? Well, no. Remember, you do need a little bit of wiggle room most of the time for certain things to be able to be done during the install or for maintenance purposes. If you're getting a lift with an overhead, just putting on the overhead requires you to lift it at least 2 to 3 inches above the post sometimes. For example, to place it into the channel where it belongs will then sit flush at the 11-foot 8 or 9 inch description that is set on the website. Repairing any hoses or cables might also be a little difficult without the wiggle room as well. Imagine trying to fit your hands up there by the overhead where there is none. It's a nightmare. Instead, refer to the manual where usually it will describe and outright tell you the required installation height, usually 12 feet for a standard car lift, instead of referring to the website's description of the height of the hoist. Secondly, the electrical requirements. Make sure to pay attention to electrical requirements. Some super beefy lifts might require 3-phase power as compared to the usual 220 volt single phase or 110 volt power units on some of the more common and standard lifts. Regardless of what you buy, just don't assume, and make sure to double and triple check what the rated electrical requirement is for your lift so you don't end up in a situation where the lift arrives, you set it up, and then you realize you have to spend more money on adapting your power supply to hook up the lift than the actual lift is worth. Thirdly, concrete depth and quality. Don't skip out on this very important step. Don't just tap your foot on the floor and assume you're good to go if the concrete sounds dense. Actually rent or grab from your toolbox a hammer drill, throw a bit on there, and drill into the concrete to see how much thickness you've got, and then compare it to the manual specifications. If you got less than 3.5 to 4 inches, you're gonna have to cut out squares and pour some thicker concrete pads where the lift post will sit at, no ifs or buts. But for some heavier duty lifts, the manual might require even more thickness, so you might have to get pads poured even if you've got the 4 or 5 inches. Regardless, don't leave this one up to chance. Please check your concrete requirements. You don't want the lift to get there and then have the install delayed by a month, or have to pay the installer, if you are paying to have it installed, extra money to have to do a return trip because you didn't check out the concrete and now you gotta pour it, wait for it to cure. It's like a whole thing, man. Just check it beforehand so you're good. Fourthly, don't just buy a lift based on price. Expensive doesn't mean good and cheap doesn't mean bad. I wouldn't skimp out on a piece of equipment that I would be entrusting my life with. However, don't just buy the most expensive lift on the market and assume you've made the best purchase possible. A lot of the lifts on the market are made in China anyways, whether expensive or inexpensive. The real thing you want to focus on is your needs and what other folks that have bought the lifts before you are saying about them. Not everyone can afford or needs a state-of-the-art rotary or forward lift. For example, if you're a farmer and you're just going to work on your pickup truck every now and then for an oil change or to change out some tires, maybe throw on a new exhaust, you do not need an $8,000 2-post car lift. You'd be fine with something like a Tuxedo or an AMGO hydraulics car lift, which depending on the capacity are only around $3,000 to $4,000. And although Chinese lifts have good customer feedback and a lot of the same safety features of, say, a bend pack, for example. On the same note, if money isn't an issue or you're wanting something for commercial use and are planning to make money off of its usage, I'd say go with a rotary or a forward or even a bend pack. They're ALI certified, which helps with staying in line with your insurance provider's requirements, all around better lifts, and they're lifts that can handle abuse and give extra credibility to your shop because they're actually meant to be used in a commercial space. Lastly, please consider the cost of a professional install. So many folks cheap out and put the car lifts up themselves and end up with warped posts or uneven columns which eat up sliding blocks or wear out cables and pulleys in the first year of the install from an incorrect installation. Simple things like not lining up the post correctly or routing the cables wrong or not shimming the thing to make it level. Just all around, if you're going to spend thousands on a new lift, make sure to budget either A, time to read the manual fully and research videos on the internet to make sure you do a by the book install, or B, make sure to allocate funds in order to pay a group of folks who do this every day for a living to knock it out in 3 to 5 hours, anywhere from $450 to $950 depending on the type of lift, capacity of the lift, and also the area you're located in. It just makes sense. If you're spending thousands of dollars on a piece of equipment, you want to put up right. So just dedicate the time or dedicate the funds, but make sure that thing is put up right in your garage. That wraps up today's video. Stay tuned to Car Lifts and Coffee for more insightful reviews and tips. Do you think we missed one tip? Make sure to leave it in the comments down below and maybe we'll put it into a follow-up video. Thanks again, guys.